So, good evening and welcome everyone to our April Ask an Engineer webinar brought to you by Elbit Systems of America. My name is Jeremy Davis and I'm the program manager for the American Rocketry Challenge. And tonight we have three amazing engineers, all from Elbit, here to introduce themselves and answer your questions about getting started in aerospace and all the different career paths that can lead there. So we've got some slides to share here, and then I will turn it over to Alyssa.
All right. Hey everyone, my name is Alyssa Carraha, and I'm a senior systems engineer slash project engineering manager at Elbit. I've only been there for 3.5 months, but loving it so far. Before that, I was with Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control, also in Orlando. Background on my education, I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Florida and a master's in aerospace engineering from the University of Central Florida, which I got while working for Lockheed. Some areas of expertise of mine are in systems requirements and verification for electro-optic and infrared systems, integration and test of those same systems, risk and opportunity management, cost account management, and earned value management, which basically means assessing financials and schedules, and then basis of estimates and proposal development. So helping the company put together estimates to give to the government on how much we think contracts will cost to execute. Some of my hobbies outside of work, well, still inside of work, organizing networking and mentoring, as well as volunteering projects. So the company enables us to not only participate in these events, but get leadership experience in organizing these events. And then I like playing volleyball and cooking and trying out new recipes.
All right. Thanks so much, Alyssa. Great to have you with us. Next up, we have Ashley.
Hi, my name is Ashley. I have been with Elbit Systems of America for 7.5 years. I started as an intern in software engineering, and then I was able to go to transition to project engineering management. And then once I graduated, I became an artificial intelligence engineer. I went to the University of Texas at Dallas. I got a degree in cognitive science. I studied artificial neural networks and neuroscience there. I mainly work on intelligent systems integration, research and development, and image analysis for object detection on homeland security programs. My hobbies are crafting, true crime, podcasts and documentaries, and then also reading about neuroscience and psychology. Yeah, I have enjoyed my time at Elbit. That's great.
Thanks so much, Ashley. And to round us out, we have Kaitlin.
Hey guys, I'm Kaitlin Frederick. I'm project engineering manager at Elbit. I started last March, so just about 14 months at Elbit. Before that, I worked in automotive and med device, and I before coming to Elbit, I did work for another defense company. I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from the University of New Hampshire in Durham. I've been in project management for most of my short career thus far, so my areas of expertise align with that. So team leadership, supplier management, contract negotiation, of course, project management. I like to do pretty much anything outside, as you can tell from my picture. I'm big into snowboarding all winter long. Obviously, that's how you get through New England winters. I also play volleyball, enjoy paddleboarding, hiking, biking, and just traveling in general. It's nice to meet you guys. And I think we said got a hi from Nick in our chat.
Hey there, Nick. No, and everyone, please make sure to use the Q&A function throughout the evening, and that way we'll be able to get your questions going. So as you think of them, please feel free, go ahead and send in your questions. But to start us off, we wanted to make sure everyone got to hear a bit about all the different backgrounds for Alyssa, Ashley, and Kaitlin. So to get us going here, I'm really curious with the different specialties, what brought you all into the aerospace industry? Was there a particular event or person that sort of inspired your career path? And Alyssa, will turn you to start, and then Ashley and Kaitlin will go from there.
Sure. So I guess I didn't always know I wanted to be an engineer. I was always good at math and science. And so I had an uncle who was in engineering. He is really involved in a company that's employee owned. And then I had an aunt who was accounting. And so I always heard family talk really highly of them, how they were so hardworking, using math and science. And so that got me thinking that maybe those would be good fits for me. But I never was in something like a rocketry club or anything like that. So you guys have a huge leg up being like this involved and this immersed in the industry already. That's awesome. But so I went to college and I said, I don't know what I want to do. Engineering sounds good. It sounds like a challenge. I'm always up for a challenge. And I picked mechanical engineering because I heard it was really broad. And so I said, great, I have no idea what I want to do. And so I knew there was the option from mechanical engineering to go into maybe aerospace or biomedical engineering because they share a lot of the same course load. So I kind of said, this is a low risk option, but it could pay off really well. Let me do this. And so I kind of just ended up liking it. I made a lot of friends and I was good at it. And so I think, out of that, just finding something that I was good at definitely was unexpected, but that's what made me stick with it. And so I want to say I kind of got here by chance, but definitely having family and friends in the industry definitely helped and just showed me it was a career option.
Awesome. No, that's a really, it's having those sorts of people in your life can make all of the difference for knowing about where to go and getting that sort of nudge in the right direction. Ashley, how about you?
I also ended up in the industry kind of by chance in the engineering department at UT Arlington. We had someone who would find internships very specifically for engineering students. And I was able to get an internship through that department. And at the time, I hadn't heard of Elbit. I of course did some research before my interview, but it's been so great so far. And then even after I started working at Elbit, I realized that they not only do aerospace, but they also do, like Alyssa had said, biomedical and homeland security, like ground systems and like seekers, all kinds of stuff. It's really cool how we can start in one direction and then basically if you're interested in something, you can pivot to wherever you want to go.
No, absolutely. In the aerospace industry, there are so many different parts that go into all of the projects that get worked on. Just in the same way for all the students here, just in the same way that there are so many different parts of your rocket and different things that you can specialize in and get better on with test flights and construction. The industry as a whole, the aerospace industry as a whole, needs every kind of specialty. And Kaitlin, if you want to round us out here, and then we'll move on.
Sure. So I actually started out as a biochem pre-med major at a St. Anselm College, and I really just went there to play volleyball, to be honest with you guys. And I realized pretty quickly that that wasn't for me. I ended up transferring to the University of New Hampshire. And after, kind of similarly to Alyssa, I had an uncle who was an engineer. And after some conversations with him, I decided, I'll try mechanical engineering. So during my going through my degree, one of my college advisors had told me, hey, you're going to end up being a project manager. And so that kind of got implanted in my mind early on. And so it was always kind of there. And I eventually got an opportunity to take a promotion to become a project manager in the auto industry out in Detroit. And that kind of just launched me down this path. So how I found my way into the defense industry is actually through a connection I met while I was working in the medical device industry. I was at a convention out in LA, and I made this connection, and we stayed in touch, and I actually used him as a reference to land a job in the defense industry. So that got me in, and that move was partially financially motivated, but I also have a family history of military service. My brother's a major in the Army and a teacher at West Point, which inspires me.
Oh, absolutely. Having, it's funny how the different connections that we make in life keep coming back and coming back. And, as you make more and more connections, it's a small world out there. And one conversation with one person can make all of the difference in getting into the right place. And, having you all here tonight to speak to our students is a big part of what we're trying to accomplish there and making sure that they get that idea. So, um, looking past the titles and now, now that we know where you've come from and how you got here, um, I'd like to hear a bit about, what a typical day looks like for you and the sort of projects that you work on. And Patrick Maliez, I see your question there. Are there any aerospace projects that you're currently working on? So, yeah, please go ahead. Kaitlin, we'll start with you and go back the way we came, um, and just give us an idea of what your typical day of work looks like, and then if there are any projects you're allowed to talk to us about, um, Patrick, there might be really fun things that they just can't say. Um, Please, by all means, go ahead and let us know. So, Kaitlin?
Yeah, sure. So I work in ground combat and precision targeting. So no, I'm not working on any aerospace projects to answer that question. But to kind of get into what my day looks like, it's changed drastically since we've started working remote. We're starting to come into the office a little bit more frequently, but for the past year and some change, we've really just been remote. So thinking of that, my remote day usually starts with me checking emails, anything that happened after hours, catching up on all those email threads and responding. Then once I'm caught up there, I go through my action item list for the project, and either the week before, if it's a Monday, go through everything we accomplished or what was still open, or the day before. Then that kind of determines how I'm going to prioritize my day. So for me, my actions in my role are really dealing with our key subcontractors. So I'll be asking them for information that our engineers have requested, discussing schedule and upcoming deliverables, and negotiating scope. That's definitely a big one, is making sure that our engineering requests align with the scope, and that if we do have something that's out of scope, addressing that in our contract. So that's a lot of what my typical day looks like. Then also maintaining supplier relationships. That's a really big part of what I do. So a lot of companies we work with have these really unique technologies and these highly skilled engineering teams, and they're usually a lot smaller than Elbit. So it's really, my overall goal is to make sure that I'm supporting them as a small business just as much as they're supporting us by developing a unique technology for us. So that's kind of what my day looks like.
I'm sure all of the team captains can relate and are thinking, wait, that's a job? Wait, am I going to be a team captain forever? The answer could be a yes. Ashley, over to you.
So my typical day is a little bit different. I'm glad to see that, Kaitlin, you catch up on your emails in the morning and you have a good work-life balance, because I look at my work phone all the time if I get an email. So, which is everybody's choice. But I'm going to start trying to do what you do. I don't work on aerospace programs. I currently work on surveillance programs. So I develop machine learning algorithms to find people and animals and vehicles in the desert, which is really fun. It's really fun. And so on a typical day, though, I think that it's pretty similar to like a friend of mine who works on seekers, and I would consider that aerospace. And we go into labs. We have very specific labs at the office. with all of our super high powered servers and all of our specialty hardware. And then we get to connect to super high powered cameras that can see like 7 miles away. It's super creepy to watch, but it's really cool technology. And I will gather data for video analysis and to train the algorithms on. And then I usually assign my intern the work of actually drawing the boxes and labeling all of the objects in the video, because that takes forever. So maybe one of you guys can do that if you're interested in machine learning. Learn how to draw boxes around stuff. It's great. It pays well. So, and then I do spend a considerable amount of time answering emails and going to meetings. But I also am the tech and innovation roadmap leader for engineering. So I also meet with engineering managers and some key players in our key idea people who can come up with the research and development ideas that are kind of off the wall, but that I can get them funding from corporate, which is really fun to me because I love doing research and development stuff. Like one time I went to DARPA and it was amazing. They basically were doing then what is it, Neurolink? Elon Musk Neurolink is doing right now. It was the wildest thing ever. But yeah, so I get to go to fun places and I get to play with cool tech that is also a little dystopian, but that's great.
Pushing boundaries every day and new horizons. Absolutely. And
Yes.
This is what good testing can get you. And Alyssa.
So in my intro, I kind of shared that I have two titles. So systems engineer and then also project engineering manager. And so every day is very different. Starts out the same. I wake up over there, get a coffee there, and then move here. And then after work, I go to the couch over there. So that's pretty standard. But other than that, when I'm acting in my systems engineer role, I'm working with our program managers, our customers, figuring out what they want out of a design, what product do they want, and then working with the team to make sure our mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, software, algorithm and machine learning, all of our engineers, as well as our business side, are playing together and everyone's piece parts add up to make a solution that the customer wanted. So just making sure that whole process runs smoothly, that we have a solid plan, and that we're going to deliver a sound product to the customer. So that's really fun, getting to interface with the customer, getting to actually see a product go from design on paper to build it, and then actually test it and hope it works. And then on the project engineering manager side, same type of projects, but then looking more closely at the schedule and the finances, determining, do we have enough engineers? Do we have enough of the right engineers? What are the risks? Are we going to be successful? And working with the engineering team to mitigate risk and try and bring a successful product. So really both my titles go hand in hand, but it's just every day it's very different. I also do some functional management. So that just means like taking care of the people. And so Ashley and I actually work on the same team, one of the same teams we work on. And so I help her as well as like 15 other engineers with all of their projects and their time management and their career goals. And so at the end of the day, I have visibility to like 20 to 30 different programs. So it's a lot to manage. So time management is crucial, but it definitely keeps things exciting. And I think, as you kind of heard from all of us with Elbit, like every day is different. You can always grow. You can always have multiple titles. And then even within a single title, like Kaitlin mentioned, you have all these different roles and responsibilities. You're constantly statusing and checking on things and making sure things are running smoothly. So every day is pretty different, but it's fun. And then I guess specifically for aerospace projects, so I think one thing that our team is doing that's pretty cool is working with drones. And so this year we're going to be doing a drone demo where we're putting sensors, cameras on a drone and going out and finding targets. And so some of what Ashley mentioned with her border surveillance, they do really cool tracking and detection algorithms to find targets of interest. And we're going to be taking those same algorithms that are on fixed towers at a border and putting them on these drones that are now flying and doing a similar mission. So pretty cool stuff.
Absolutely. There's never a dull moment, and there's always some new project, some new advancement, and some new thing that needs to get connected and checked in on. Um, so now that we've heard a bit about what all of you all are working on and the paths you all took, um, obviously our students are thrilled about rocketry. It's what all of them are working on right now, and a big huge love for aerospace in general. Um, what sort of paths that might not be the typical aerospace engineering, mechanical engineering, the ones that they can obviously think of, what sort of paths uh, would you all recommend for our students to consider? And this comes from Micah from the Mount Helix Academy. So do any of you all in particular want to answer it? Otherwise, I'll go ahead and throw to Ashley for the little bit of
Okay.
atypical.
Yeah, that works for me. Okay, so as far as major or field of study, something I learned after I got into industry was that you can basically study anything. And there's a subset of aerospace rocketry, like any type of engineering, there's a subset of whatever specific part interests you that needs people. So if you are more interested in nose cone and fin shape, then maybe you become mechanical or physics, right? If you're more interested in combustion, then chemical engineering all the way, right? But there's also like mission systems. So you can be like a systems engineer or a computer engineer, or even a math major, right? Can work on mission systems where you're basically programming the mission computer that tells the rocket when and where to fly and where to go. Like personally, I studied cognitive science. I switched from software engineering because software wasn't as interesting to me as machine learning very specifically was and neuroscience was. And that led me in directly to machine learning. And I think that we're definitely going to need things like machine, if we don't already have them, because I don't know a whole lot about rockets at this point, but if we don't already have them, like how else are we going to land a rocket for reuse right after it goes to space? And that's machine learning all the way. So it's kind of like whatever subset interests you, go for that. Whichever one is going to keep your interest. Because the key is not to quit, because engineering school is hard. But if you're interested in what you're studying most of the time, then you're good to go. And you'll definitely find there's a place for you, for sure.
Absolutely. And even when we think out even further on the horizon, when we talk about ideas like crewed missions to Mars, that's a year plus in a spaceship. You want to know what goes into that? Psychology. There are going to be psychologists and psychotherapists who are dedicated to, oh yeah, we've got to make sure that this spaceship is as soothing as possible and as welcoming as possible. And oh gosh, what is it like where the soonest you can talk to anyone that isn't right in the room with you is a 15-minute time delay? There's anything you could possibly want to study, there's an aerospace aspect to it.
Yeah, even like what you said, like you could be a doctor, right? We're going to need people to actually perform medical procedures in space, right? And just, it's really exciting.
Absolutely. There's a reason so many people can really fall in love with the industry there.
Space Force. I'm ready for that to be real.
Absolutely. And then getting into sort of these specific courses of study, are there any double majors or minors that particularly stand out? You all, have the opportunity to look at so many different teams. Now, just from your position right now, if there was any extra skill set you could bring to a particular team you're working with, what would it be? What's that little extra? Oh man, we need a mechanical engineer, but if it's a mechanical engineer that also knew this, that would be perfect. Um,
Writing algorithms. I mean, the software piece is what makes the world spin, right? So if you can get experience and take some classes, learning to write code, you really should. You kind of need to nowadays. So that's definitely the biggest one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can't, at this point, you can't do anything. Like, a friend of mine she got a master's degree in environmental science, and she's writing programs to do her job. And she's like, I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna learn it.
Yeah, I think also having a mechanical engineering degree, and then working with systems that obviously go beyond just mechanical engineering, electrical would be super useful. And so I think it's always good to have insight into another field. So if you wanted to double major, there's, simpler ways to do that. So mechanical and aerospace go pretty well together, as well as a minor in biomedical. That's probably an easier thing to do. Or like software engineering and maybe a minor in computer science. Those might pair well. But even if you just do a single major, taking electives, and so a mechanical engineer taking electives in electrical, or the other way around, or taking coding classes and stuff like that, just getting a breadth of experience. I think definitely starting out in your early career, being able to see different people's perspectives is just an amazing strength. And as you grow in the industry, those skills will get developed, and you'll be able to understand other engineers. Even if you're not doing the work, you'll be able to understand where they're coming from, see how their stuff fits into yours, and it's just a huge asset. So I think just looking at the other majors coursework and picking out maybe not the most advanced classes right away. I know some people who do it. So if you are one to push yourself, go for it. I know people with mechanical engineering bachelor's degrees who then went and got an electrical master's. And so it is doable if you have the passion behind it. But getting breadth is super important. And then I think also, maybe even doing a minor on the business side. If you're interested in any of like the project management that like Kaitlin and I do, that is useful as well. Understanding finances, understanding schedule. But also, as you can see, neither of us have that major, and we ended up where we are today too. So not everything relies on your degree, but it does help.
If you're good at something and you're passionate on it and you get your foot in the door, a company will definitely want to take advantage of your passion for that sort of thing. If you're a great engineer and they realize you've got talent for project management, you're going to get some help in learning those skills. Don't you worry. And I think,
and
go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, I would add to that. Even if you don't double major, you can, if you have the skills and the knowledge and the experience, and you put that on your resume, and you can speak to it, because we've met people who can't speak to it. So think about that. But if you have that knowledge and that's like one of your hobbies, like things like programming, or even if you have a hobby, like if rocketry is a hobby of yours and you put that on there, like that you've participated in all this stuff, like that's so helpful. It is really helpful. And you're not going to be ignored if you don't have a double major, but things like certificates and participation in personal projects, those are really huge. Like even project management, you can get a certificate in project management. I took the classes, and then I graduated with my cognitive science degree before I sat for the project manager like certification test. So I still have all of that knowledge and stuff, which is important, and it looks good on my resume. Like I completed that, right? But I didn't get certification because I got distracted with machine learning. But yeah, don't discount certifications, for sure.
Absolutely. And that really ties in well. First, credit where credit is due about the majors and minors question. That was from Priya at John P. Stevens High School. And Ashley, exactly what you're talking about leads right into our next question from Aaron from Dunlap High School. What opportunities are there in college besides classes that our students should be looking to take advantage of? So we've heard about certificates, and and Alyssa, you talked about just pursuing electives and things that aren't necessarily tied to your degree. But outside of those classes, what are the sort of things talking about hobbies, interests, and other sorts of passions that really stand out?
I can go first.
Absolutely.
So I think someone mentioned it earlier about growing your network and that you get opportunities by having a network. So I would just say join a team, right? We're all smart. We can all do school. We all try hard. Join a team, grow your network, and let people notice that. One, having friends is awesome. No one wants to go through college alone. And then having a professional network to help you get through your classes. College is tough. Having friends to study with, do homework with, that's going to help. And then also after college for looking for a job. When one person finds a job, they can refer other people. And so having that network is amazing. And so I would say, join a club. It doesn't have to be an academic club. You can join clubs for rocketry. You can join stuff to build race cars, build different canoes with limited supplies. Like there's all these engineering clubs, but you can join a sorority, a fraternity. You can join a club sport. That's what I did. So just join a team, grow your network, do something outside of school. Everything's not about school. And I think that'll help you keep your sanity and help you in the long run.
Yeah, that's a good point, Alyssa. A friend of mine, you brought up a race car club. A friend of mine was on the Formula One racing team where it was all types of engineering disciplines, and they basically designed a Formula One car at UTA and raced it. And there's like this whole giant competition. I wasn't a part of it because I was working a job at the time, so I didn't get to do a lot of fun stuff. But she literally works at SpaceX right now. Like, that doesn't really have a whole lot to do with her Formula One, but she works at SpaceX, and I'm kind of jealous at what she gets to watch every day.
Yeah, those teams definitely prepare you for the real world, if not over prepare you. There are countless sleepless nights. I had friends getting nosebleeds in the library because they just hadn't slept. They're working on meeting requirements, meeting the cost, meeting the schedule, and building something that has to work. And so that is just all about real life.
Absolutely.
My laptop just died. Sorry.
Oh no, we still got you on audio, so that's good.
Okay, great.
No, we'll keep
so
going.
I gotta agree with Alyssa about about joining a team. In the point she says, it doesn't have to be academic. You definitely need a breath of fresh air, and a way to get away from your classes, to get your mind off things. You don't have to be good at a sport. I mean, there's silly things like at UNH we had inner tube water polo, and you just float around in a tube trying to push people over, and and we had another sport where you run around with sneakers on the hockey rink, and all you have is the end of a broomstick to try to hit a hockey puck. Like crazy, silly things that no one's ever going to be good at. Don't be shy. Just join a team.
And
that's all. Yeah, those are cool.
Kaitlin, and I think it really goes to something you said earlier, talking about your networking and connections. You can do inner tube water polo, but your best friend for inner tube water polo could end up, they make a connection. It's like, oh yeah, no, I've totally got a friend that works at Lockheed Martin. I've got a friend who works at Raytheon. Yeah, let me give you their phone number. Go get coffee. And that's what ends up making the difference. There's all of these connections that you make in doing those opportunities outside of class, even if they're not directly related to project learning and all the awesome things that Ashley and Alyssa were talking about. Those connections make an entire world of difference.
Right.
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry, Kaitlin, you finish.
I was going to say, my first 3 jobs as I've worked through my career have all been from connections, until I had enough experience to be able to just apply and get a call back. So it's really critical. So my first job, what I got through a college classmate who had done an internship and had gotten hired out of their internship. And that's how I ended up in the auto industry. And got my first promotion. So it was really great to leverage those connections that you make in college. So it's really important that, when you're working in these group projects and even, doing these fun other extracurriculars, just that, hold yourself with that decorum and impress the people around you. Have fun, but impress the people around you. Because if people see you working hard in your classes and, really contributing in group projects and being engaged, those people are going to be the people for the rest of your working life that are going to help you get jobs. So it's really important that you impress your classmates and, be on good terms with them.
Absolutely. You've got to keep your friends.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I would also say that a 4.0 is good, but if you have work experience and not a 4.0, then I personally think that that's better. Like, I would rather, if you're thinking about like hiring someone, if you have someone with internship experience versus somebody who has, I don't know, like a 3.0 or something like that, that is a better hire to me than someone with a 4.0 that has zero experience, right? So don't discount internships. Like, they are very, very important. Even if you think that it's going to affect your grades a little bit, honestly, I think it makes a difference. And I would also say, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, apply. Like, even if the requirements seem like they're too much, apply anyway. Okay. There was a statistic that said women are less likely to apply for jobs that they don't qualify for than men are. And I don't like that. So because your male counterparts are applying for jobs they're not qualified for, you should also apply. I'm not saying get in over your head, but don't sell yourself short, because you're smarter than you think and you're more capable than you think you are. So give yourself the opportunity.
Yeah, I guess I would add, everyone's resume is different. Some of you may already have jobs, working in high school. I personally didn't. Some of you may have internships. Some of you may do research. Some of you may focus, mainly on academia and, want that 4.0. And so everyone's resume is going to be different. But just be confident in your skill set. And as long as you're putting in effort, whether it's in school or an internship or a job, at a restaurant, whatever it is, put in your best effort and you're getting some skill out of it, and just be confident in that skill. And then, you as a person will be demonstrated. It's not going to come down to one specific thing that you do or don't have.
Absolutely. It's having all of the breadth of experience is so much more important than I think people really give credit to. Every single person, we said this in our last webinar, and we'll continue to say this in every webinar, the American Rocketry Challenge should be on your resume. It's a tremendous experience.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference in the world, that sort of project-based learning. And, they can only hire the people that apply for the job. So you may sit here and think, oh man, I'm not sure if I'm qualified for that. If only a dozen people apply for it and you're the best out of that dozen, well, guess who's going to be the next director? It's going to be you. So, and speaking of, please absolutely feel free to start asking questions. We're going to go over, and these questions we've been going through were asked ahead of time. Now we'll go to a question from Carly Tomlin, who asks, is there any advice you'd want to give to a younger person wanting to be in your position in the future? So we've heard about lots and lots of different things on how to get your path how to get paths started, and what to be looking at for research, but and making sure that you keep your connections. But is there anything, outside of what we talked about already, that stands out as a great piece of advice that you wish you had when you were starting out? Alyssa?
Sure, I get. Yeah. So one of my managers actually gave me this advice. He gave it to his whole team, and it was that effort makes your talent grow exponentially. and raw talent is linear, maybe a little growth. And so with everything that you do, there's always going to be someone better. And the only thing in your control is how much effort you put in. And so I think all of us have gotten to where we are today because, we started out with some level of raw talent, and I'm sure it was different for all of us, but we all put in extreme amount of effort. And so just never discredit yourself, to Ashley's point, never think you're not good enough. But then do know there's always room for improvement and there's always new opportunities for growth. So just putting in effort, setting goals for yourself. That is definitely a way, like if I can check something off that I accomplished this, but then not be too upset if you didn't accomplish it by the date that you set, but understand why. So setting goals and putting in effort is going to go a long way. And then I think, what's gotten me to where I am today is, so I'm a pretty outgoing person, and that bodes well for me. I'm not afraid to speak up, but I know, there are people more introverted. And so just keeping in mind, you need to be your own biggest advocate. You can do great work, but unless you are confident in that work you're doing and able to vocalize that you're doing great work, people might overlook you. And so if you want a promotion, if you want a raise, if you want to try a new position or a new opportunity, you need to be the one to say that. You might get lucky here and there and have people say, I have an opportunity for you. But that is almost purely luck based. And so being your own biggest advocate, that's what's gotten me promotions. That's what's gotten me put into the positions I'm in. And then once I'm there, putting in that effort helps people feel confident that they made the right choice by giving me that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
To expand on what Alyssa is saying, so I've moved jobs quite frequently. So my first job I was at for just under 3 years. Then my next 2 jobs after that, I was there for about 14 months for each role. So if you feel that you don't, you're outgrowing a place or it's not a right fit, times have changed. It's okay to move around. Especially, a lot of my moves were financially motivated. So like she says, don't sell yourself short, have confidence. If you feel that something isn't a right fit or you don't have room to grow, don't be afraid to start looking. That's a big thing. You don't want to get, it's okay to move around. That mindset that you have to stay at a job for a long time to show commitment is kind of a thing of the past now, especially for the tech fields.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Additionally, so like I changed schools 3 times. I changed majors twice, and it took me 7 years to graduate college. So, but I love where I'm at right now. And in that same amount of time, I changed positions at the same company to also follow what I was interested in. Some advice I got really early in my career, even before I was a professional, was you don't have to let other people presenting you with opportunity direct your actual growth. You have the ability to choose. You don't have to say yes to every opportunity, but that doesn't mean say no to every single one, right? But if you find that you are unhappy or you're not enjoying something, you are also likely to find that your talents are better somewhere or are better in another position or at another place or just doing something slightly different. Don't give up. It's going to be hard. I can't tell you how many times I had to take calculus 2. Okay. It's going to be difficult, and there's going to be something that is just like a huge hurdle, but don't give up on it. And also, it's okay to cry the first time you get a C in college. It's going to happen. You'll be fine. You'll be fine though. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it kind of ties back to, so, not staying in something you're unhappy with, but to Ashley's point, how many times did she have to fail Calc 2, but she still kept trying because she knew there was something coming after that. And so being unhappy short term is okay, But if it's something continual, that's when, when I say be your own advocate and talk about how great you are, also don't be afraid to voice that you're not happy and talk to your manager, because they know of other opportunities. So finding a new opportunity doesn't always mean going to a new company or having to like pick up and move somewhere else. You can rotate within the project that you're working on. You could rotate to a different project. And so depending on what company you're with, there's always opportunity. So just being vocal, knowing that, look out for yourself, look out for your own happiness, and just speak up.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing, don't ever take the first salary offer. Don't do it. Always negotiate. The first offer is not the best offer, I promise.
Even if the
unless it's like an
good.
internship. But even if it sounds good, always ask for at least 5,000 more. Okay. Promise. Swear. Okay. My first offer, they offered me, and I came with research, and I said, that's not enough. This is what I'm supposed to be getting paid. And then it took them like 4 or 5 days. There was no response. And I was like, okay, I can't back down, because no matter what, they're not going to rescind their offer because you ask for more money. They still want you. So it literally cannot hurt you to ask. So just keep that in mind. I've been trying to tell all of my friends that I've ever referred to internships that got hired afterwards. It will serve you to be your own advocate, exactly like Alyssa said.
You are worth it. Things to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. You're worth it. And all that work you went through is worth something.
And Ashley, speaking of some of the work you went through, and you mentioned earlier some of the things that you saw a while back when you visited DARPA, we've got another question from Priya, or we just have another Priya in the audience, asking, Ashley, where do you think the future of Neurolink will go, and what's been your experience with those sorts of technologies so far? So computer-brain interfaces and how that might change, what you've been working on, and hopefully the experience of your intern having to check off boxes.
Yeah. So the video I saw of the monkey that was playing Pong, I had a really hard time grappling. I was grappling with that. Like, it was very difficult, because when I went to DARPA in 2018, is it 2018 or 2017? They had paraplegic people with brain implants, and it looked like the movie Avatar. Like, literally, like the cable was like implanted into their head. And Neuralink is wireless. So I'm still trying to accept that that's reality. Like, I knew that's where DARPA was going because that's where they said they wanted to go, but the fact that it's real right now is blowing my mind. And I think that Neuralink is going to revolutionize everything, but it's also a little bit scary. And I think that things like autonomous, right now it's kind of more like brain-computer interfaces are super, super, super cutting edge research and development, but there are very few places that are actually doing it. So if you're interested in that, like, study AI, study neuroscience, go to medical school. Like, I figured that out the other day. I have like 30 more years in a career if I don't invest well, right, and get to retire early. And I was like, I'm gonna go to medical school and be one of those and like learn how to implant stuff in your brain. Like, that would be wild, right? And what I tried to get research money to do after I went to DARPA was to implant transcranial direct current stimulation into pilot helmets to enhance learning and training and cognition. I didn't get to get very far because our medical team wasn't really that advanced. Wasn't really like a brain advancement, but it was a really cool idea. And what else? I think that the next thing that anybody's really going to be able to do is write APIs. What does the API stand for? It is basically like all of the underlying code that will encode and decode from the brain. So there's hardware and neuroscience, like physical science, and then there's the software, because it's all going to be run by software. So I would say if you want to do that, software is probably the widest, or the widest door that you could go through, right?
Priya, I hope you're very excited with all the awesome things that are on the horizon there.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And then also all autonomous things. Like, I know it's not brain-computer interface, but everything's kind of going autonomous. Like the drones that Alyssa was talking about we're trying to make them autonomous ultimately, where they follow targets and then report back home. And even what I'm hoping to get money for next year is getting some spot, like Boston Dynamics dogs, and having them like run in packs to do this surveillance, but on the ground and not as a drone, because they can probably be more silent than a drone is, because drones are pretty loud. But don't dampen your ideas, because someone is there to listen. I'm the tech and roadmap leader, and I want everyone to bring those ideas to me too, so that I can bring them to the people with all the money, right? Everything's exciting all the time.
And to close this out here, and sort of in the same vein, we've got a question from Carly from Creekview High School asking, what your biggest achievement was and how it was achieved. So Kaitlin, if we can go ahead and start with you, and then we'll go to Alyssa and have Ashley close us out, in case she hasn't already brought it up, talking about R&D.
Oh, biggest achievement. Okay, so we were actually talking about this earlier in the week, and I just turned 30. I'd say that I haven't had enough career experience to reach to have a huge achievement yet. My biggest achievement is more of a personal one that's tied to work, and it's ongoing, and that's really working towards financial freedom to get out of student debt and stuff like that, to be able to buy a house and stuff. And how do you do that? You got to get a paycheck, and you have to love what you do and be passionate about it, so that you don't, go crazy. Especially with working from home, you got to really love what you're doing in order to earn that paycheck. But at the end of the day, like I said, I don't think I've reached that point in my career yet where I've had a huge career achievement.
For me, I guess kind of like two parts. So obviously getting promotions and raises is always nice. And so getting my promotion to a level 3 engineer, I got it a little bit earlier than the typical, because I felt like I deserved it. I voiced my opinion, brought the data, I just didn't raise my hand and ask for it, brought the data to support it, and really had to press on it for a very long time. It wasn't just ask and, you receive. I really had to drill down and focus and prove myself. And so that was super rewarding, knowing that I put in all this effort and it got recognized. And so that's more on the self, achievement side. On the technical side, I got to design a desiccant, which is basically, those silica gel packets that absorb humidity, water, that, you buy new shoes and it comes in the box. So I got to design something of a similar concept that goes into an infrared sensor. And that sensor is supposed to go on an F-22 fighter jet one day. So something I got to, help design is going to be in every sensor that gets fielded on, multiple platforms one day. And so just knowing that is just kind of crazy. And then, just being involved in projects that are going to help the warfighter or going to help the medical industry, because our company does both. It's just kind of crazy to think about. So that's super rewarding.
I would say that my biggest work achievement has probably it's hard to compete with financial freedom because that's huge. Especially if you had to take loans or you had to work or like you don't come from a super privileged background. And so that was huge for me. Like I'm not even 30 yet and I've already accomplished more than both of my parents have in their entire lives. And that is super rewarding. And rewarding for everybody because they're super proud of me, right? But I would say my biggest work accomplishment was being selected as the person to go to DARPA, even though I was probably one of the youngest engineer at the time. And being selected as the tech and roadmap leader. And I think a lot of that has to do with enthusiasm too. So like, don't be afraid to be excited about stuff because enthusiasm can get you further than anything. I like to think that I'm pretty smart, but like, I think some of it I'm like, I don't know. I think this person might be smarter than me, but I can see the vision, right? And that was really validating for me to get selected for that. Yeah, and then things like buying a house before 30. That was wild. I haven't reached my next goal of buying a Tesla yet, but I'm getting there. Student loans will be paid off sometime.
All right. Well, Alyssa, Kaitlin, Ashley, thank you all so much for being here this evening. I know all of our students are really grateful. And for all of our alumni that are going to be watching this recorded afterwards, I hope you all have learned and gotten some great advice as you all are working through undergrad or getting ready to go there. Thanks again, you all. Anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank everyone for joining. Yeah. I think, whether your parents forced you to be here, this is your passion project, you have a friend that you're just joining with. It's awesome that you're here. It's a Thursday night and this is what you guys chose to do. So we really appreciate it. If your parents forced you to be here, tell them thanks and you guys better appreciate them. Because this is one of those networking opportunities. I would say, go on LinkedIn, find us. Create a LinkedIn if you don't have one, create a resume if you don't have one, and definitely reach out.
And if anyone has any questions after the fact that you'd like to ask Alyssa, Ashley, or Kaitlin, please feel free, send us an email to rocketcontest@aia-aerospace.org, and we're happy to pass on any questions you have after the fact, or if you'd like to, hopefully, if they have time, get a connection one-on-one and get some more specific advice, happy to make the connection there. All right.
That'll be great. Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.